Hello and welcome. You've officially made it to class number 2 of the Building Your Breaking Path personal development course by the Nico Spins Training Club. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in again. And if you were here on the last video lecture, our topic was asking, are you a real breaker? Are you a real Bgirl? Are you a real Bboy? The feedback that we received from the group and even outside the group was amazing. We got to see so many people answer question A, and that was, what does breaking mean to you? And question B, why do you keep breaking in your life? And a lot of people that were prior often disqualifying themselves or finding themselves in the imposter syndrome area of breaking. I know that's a work in progress for everyone in life, because no matter what, we might be a little critical of ourselves and often have that self-doubt. To be able to bring that and open that conversation of, breaking in hip hop does course through my veins. Like, even if I have a corporate job, or I open my own business, or I have kids, or I have these responsibilities that take up a majority of the day, I would find myself breaking at the end of it, right? Or if I don't have the time, I'm always thinking about breaking, right? So people that would often disqualify themselves as breakers, B-boys, or B-girls, that conversation has now changed to where, you know what? I am a B-boy now that you think of it. They can create a legitimate list of reasons why breaking stays in their life, why they continue to keep it in their life, and why it continues to inspire them. So thank you so much for chiming into that. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check out video number 1. But today, video number 2, our topic today is style development. And we're going to get deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of developing our own style. So today we're going to start with a lecture portion first. I'll utilize a lot of my personal experiences to hopefully build a pathway of thinking for you to start developing your method, or giving affirmation if you already are comfortable and are confident in your style. But let's start with this big elephant in the room for style. And it's the t-shirt that you've seen or may have not seen. And some people argue that style cannot be taught. And I don't think you're wrong. I entirely agree that I don't think style can be taught. I'm not creating this course to make you dance like me. I don't want to teach you choreography. I don't want you to dance like your favorite breaker. As an instructor, I don't want you to dance like this other person, right? I want to provide you with the basic alphabet and numbers so you can speak your own words and you can tell your own story. I believe as complex humans, you have a very, very unique story, and something that's really inspirational for many people, and even yourself, right? We are all our own heroes, but we just have to believe it. And I think we can create a legitimate list of reasons why you are a hero, of why you are unique, and why you have something special to share. I'm just here to tell you that it exists, and it's important to not just skip over it, because life is very, very worthwhile, and it wouldn't be very fair to yourself if you just continue to shun it away. So, style development, let's start with defining what style is. Another word I'm going to use interchangeably is flavor, right? What is style? What is flavor? In short, I would define it as the way that you talk, the way that you rock, the way that you walk, the way that you interact with the world, the way that you perceive the world, and the way that you act upon it, right? Whether you're reacting or you're being proactive about it. What is your interpretation of the world, and what do you display amongst your existence here in the world? So, style. We're going to talk about some life experiences, things that are beyond our control, things that are within our control, and ways that us as breakers, us as creatives, us as dancers can maximize what our own personal unique style is. Everyone that's watching this video can come from entirely different walks of life. You can be an American living in the suburbs, you can live in the city, you can live in the desert, you can live in the mountains, you can live in rural countries. It's up to you to understand what your style is and for you to embrace it. So let's start with part A of developing your style, and that's finding your flavor, right? Subcategory, accepting your environment. So I'll use a quick example of how I have accepted my environment and how that's going to translate into how I select the environment that I want to live in. So for finding my flavor and accepting my environment. Let's use the example of my body's reaction to living here in San Diego, California, something that is beyond my control. When I was born and raised here in San Diego, I come from Filipino descent. My father's from Calamba City, Laguna in the Philippines. My mom is from Batangas in the Philippines. They immigrated to America and they decided to pick San Diego, California, where they were going to meet, get married, and then have their last kid, me. And with Filipino DNA, whether it is my body's physiological responses to this weather and this climate, we'll start with I get eczema, right? Anytime that I'm here at my home city, San Diego, and I'm not traveling in other tropical weathers, I get eczema. I get it on my wrists. I get it behind my ear. I get it on my elbows. I get it on other parts of my body. And it's usually due to the dryness, and it's due to the wind and the weather here. Another thing is San Diego. It's not nearly as cold as people in snow climates. It's chilly here in the morning. It's gloomy in the morning. And then as the day proceeds, then the sun comes out or the clouds go away and it warms up. So you can wear t-shirt weather. And then towards the evening, it's back gloomy weather. You're back to sweater weather or light jackets. And you should be good. With a roller coaster of weather like that, I often get sick. I often get colds, or I'll get a fever, especially because I'll work really, really late nights and sometimes I don't manage my time. In contrast, whenever I'm at the homeland in the Philippines, I was there last week visiting both my mom and dad's side, and I notice this every time that I go. Within the first day or so of being in the Philippines, my eczema, my rashes on my skin go away within the next 1 to 2 days because of that tropical, that humid weather. I think my body just responds to it really, really great. It feels at home. When it comes to practicing or even just existing, because it's consistently hot and humid over there, it's going to make practicing a lot easier. I can get a just as productive practice in 30 minutes versus an hour and a half here in San Diego, because here in San Diego, my warm-up time has now increased to 1 hour, versus in the Philippines, I can just dedicate 15 minutes to warming up and focusing on coordination, right? I have to make sure when I'm here at home city, San Diego, I'm bundled up. I have to make sure that I warm up appropriately so I don't hurt my wrists. I gotta make sure that I am sweating through at least one shirt before I get into high-risk technical movement, versus in the Philippines when I'm at that home, I just gotta stretch out, get a little bit of cardio in, and boom, I already sweat through one shirt and I'm ready to go, right? So my level of progress physically when it comes to breaking in the Philippines, it scales and ramps up drastically on the physical side of things. When I'm here in San Diego, it takes a lot of mental energy, it takes physical energy. I gotta make sure that I bring extra clothes, because if I don't change into a dry shirt after practice and I go straight back to my coffee shop to work and close up the night, then I'll get sick. But I think you can kind of see how those yield different results. That yields a specific schedule I have to follow. Those are things that are out of my control, like the weather, that will start establishing my personality or start yielding the way that I think, the way that I need to survive, the way that I need to live, right? So what is that for you? What is your environment that's beyond your control of breaking, and how does that yield specific results to the way that you talk, to the way that you rock, to the way that you wear clothes, to the way that you decide to dress? And that transitions perfectly into part 2 or part B of finding your flavor, finding your style, and that's selecting your environment. If I'm going to go a little deeper into this scenario, I've talked about how the weather is something that is beyond mine and our control of where we live, but how do we select these different variables to start creating you, right? Say in relationship to breaking, as a grown young man at 27 years old, I have to consider that I have bills to pay. I have to consider that I have a family that I want to surround myself with, that I have a fiance that I want to provide for, that I have a circle of friends that I want to include myself in, and also have the flexibility of breaking and traveling and sharing my breaking story with the world. Does that mean I have the time to enter the corporate field, get a government job? I mean, I could somehow make it work. But in my scenario, I like extreme flexibility. I like to be able to travel easy, travel across the world easy if someone were to invite me for a jam or invite me for an event. So Is working a government 9 to 5 job where I'm expected to be there regularly, is that going to fit the way that I want to prioritize breaking? Not necessarily in my scenario. It may be different for everyone. So I've established multiple businesses here at home. Is that any harder? Is that any easier? No, everyone's life is different, and the way that we interpret it, it's going to be entirely different for everyone. So in my case, I've taken the road to establish multiple streams of income, so then I can not only break in the way, or break and travel in the way that I prefer, but I can also select my coworkers. I can select my business partners or my associates that will accept the lifestyle that I want. So I've built businesses or co-built businesses alongside my fiance, alongside my best friend. That is how I've surrounded my day-to-day, so I can break in the way that I want, so I can taste as many things as possible, as many environments as possible, so I can start to develop my own opinion, so I can start to develop my own style and my preference of how I want to interact with the world. That is how I've selected my environment. So we can now see these two things of things that you can't control, like the example of the weather, all the way to the way I've constructed my professional to life work relationship, to my breaking relationship, and how those three things can come together and form me. Let's get into a subcategory of finding our flavor. The music that you consume, the content that you consume, the media that you consume, that is going to contribute to the results that you have as a dancer, to the person that you are, to the way that you think. Now that hip hop has been around for 50 years now, we can see that the music has evolved tremendously in so many ways. And we can't develop our own unique style if we haven't immersed ourselves in as many styles of music as we possibly can. 70s music, 80s music, 90s music, music today. You can already anticipate or think of how each of those things sound. 70s music. Imagine this, the birth of hip hop. There was a specific groove. There's so many different influences of where there were pivotal people and influential artists of this time, like James Brown, Bernard Purdie, one of the most sampled drummers of this life, King MJ, the king of pop, right? The way that they were constructing music, the ride of music and the groove that they had, very specific to that time. You can't just do battle top rocks. You can't do power move top rocks on that type of music. I mean, you can if you want, but it doesn't fit the time. These icons of these periods of time, and you look at their footage, you look at the way they dance, if you listen to the groove, then you're going to be able to start distinguishing how you want to move and respond to that, right? You listen to 80s music, synthesizers were way more implemented, right? And some artists maintained that familiar funk from the 70s, like James Brown was still getting it, his band was still getting it at a very specific groove of the 80s. As the 90s come across, you can see that there's an entirely new evolution of rap music. And there's a difference in bounce from rap with MCs to the rappers with getting playtime in the clubs, what was getting popularized. And you can see the different range of MCs and their sound of gangster rap. So you must learn to walk with this. You must learn to groove with this. And you must learn to implement your steps with this. You can't look one-dimensional in any of these settings. It's important to test out the foundation that you already have, see how it fits into 70s music, see how it fits into 80s music, see how it fits into 90s to current music today. Taste everything so you can start to develop your own opinion and start to develop your own voice. My opinion and my piece of advice from this is to experience and test everything you possibly can within reach as a dancer, within reach as a human, so you can start to find who that you truly is. Taste everything. Even if you don't like it, just try it. Can't knock it until you try it. Welcome to the instructional portion of this video. We're going to lay over the video on top of here, and I'll just continue with a voiceover. Today's focus is the word intention, and that is pretty much representing what is our purpose. We're going to explore fundamental movements through breaking that I've used throughout the years that can yield opportunity to explore moves that you are interested in. So we can only find out what you want, we can only find out what your voice is and how you want to tell your story, only if we taste everything. We're going to work on our groove fundamentals. These are some things that you can apply to all styles of music that we mentioned before. 70s music, 80s music, 90s music, current breaking music, and even further before. They're really easy steps. But you have your basic two-step, basic studio steps. You have your kickball change. Right? Some people call them different. It's not the end of the world. Just go to practice. We have your basic box step. You have your basic grapevine, right? When it comes to the basic ABCs of grooving, I learned this from a video course from Keone and Mari Madrid. Intention is to isolate and explore the range of each body group, ranging from head, learning how to groove with your shoulders, learning how to groove with your chest, learning how to groove with your hips and your core, learning how to groove with your knees. And once you can get the concept of those, you can implement that back into those studio steps or the current assets that you have, whether that's a basic top rock, your Indian steps, your hip twists, all of the above. Footwork. Before we get into this, I got a bonus video for you.
Let's get you stable footwork form in 1 minute. Welcome to Breaking Education, I'm Nico Castro. The first thing we're learning is zero. This will be the base that allows us to transition down, maneuver into moves, patterns, or sequences. And no, we're not talking about a squat. If that was the case, our butt and hips would be way too far back, our knees would be way too high, and the weight of our body would compromise our form. Although the zero position may be challenging to reach for beginners, this will lead you to the opportunity of stable posture and mobility. Quick tip, when you have 2 hands on the ground, your legs are most likely in the back. When you have 1 hand on the ground, your legs are most likely in the front. Hand placement, 3 options. You can go in flat-handed, on your inner knuckles, or even your fingertips. Flat hands give power and control but stresses the wrists. Inner knuckles give height but develop calluses. Fingertips give the most height, but less reach. And hopefully this guides you to a safe, efficient, and fun practice. Happy training!
With that information on footwork form given, let's maneuver into hooks. Let's combine this concept of playing with our hooks and making them meet the demand of different styles of music. How are you going to get into this hook? Are you going to get into it slow? Are you going to get into it fast? Are you going to get into it choppy? What is your method of getting from point A to point B? This is your intention and this is your focus. Some drum patterns in a song may come off slow. Some may sound loose. Some might sound sharp. It's up to your interpretation. This is a really fun one, so I look forward to you trying it. Okay, let's gather again and recap where we're at. We covered a lot of information in this video, but let's start with the overall focus and topic, and that's style development. In the lecture video portion of this, we've talked about accepting and understanding our environment. Getting deeper, we've talked about constructing and maximizing our environment. The intention of that conversation was to see how do these environments that we surround ourselves with and that we grew up with influence the way that we talk, influence the way that we are motivated to survive in this world, right? And how do we translate that into dance? As we got into the instructional portion of the video, we used fundamental studio steps and we applied that to different eras and genres of music. Followed by that, we maximized one piece of movement, and that was the hook. We applied this move in various methods. We applied this hook into level changes. We followed the demands of different eras, styles, genres, and different timing of music. And as mentioned before, style can't be taught. However, as complex humans with many interests, we interact with many stimuli every single day. We have access to an abundance of history to use as a foundation to create our own voice and create our own preferred style. And after all that, whether it's the testimony I shared of how I interact and how I assess and reflect upon my environments and the concepts of movement that I've shared, they're geared to helping you establish our shared language and for you to speak your own unique and powerful story. Your homework after this video is to journal or type your response to this question. If you feel comfortable enough, you can share that with me or you can leave it in the comments below. And that's answering what environmental factors make you dance the way that you do. And homework number 2 is to record 2 videos. Video number 1 is to apply this concept of a hook to a different era or genre of music. Demonstrate that you can fulfill the demand of what the music requires. In other words, show what the music looks like through this hook. And video number 2, apply this concept of a hook to your preferred genre of music. It could be trap music, it could be your country's cultural music, it can be a specific era of music, it could be rock, it could be pop, whatever you'd like. But same thing, demonstrate that you can fulfill the demand of what this style of music requires your hook to do. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning into the second class of the Building Your Breaking Path Personal Development course by the Nico Spins Training Club. I'm excited to see what you guys provide, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.